Hello, this is Mike with PTU. In this video, I thought I would take a few minutes and walk you through how I set my charts up and prepare for trading the next day. If you've heard me speak in the past, you know I'm a huge believer in getting in and out in as little as 20 minutes a day. Now, initially, when people hear that, I oftentimes get feedback saying, Mike, I just don't know how realistic that is. I'm spending hours each day looking at the charts and trying to place trades. Or I get feedback from people that may have full-time jobs saying, Mike, I just don't have time during the day to look at the charts. I wish I did. I would love to profit from the markets. My schedule doesn't allow it. Well, what I've done here is I've created a workspace with 6 of my favorite markets to look at. I trade all 6 of these, and I'm going to show you how quickly you can get this done. Okay, so if you don't have time to look at the markets all day, if you're really going to buy into this concept of in and out in 20 minutes a day or less, what you really want to do is you want to start out by looking at what I call the overview charts. Okay, these are basically just the 3 major US index products, and these are the ETFs that track those indexes. Okay, so I've got DIA tracking the Dow, I've got SPY tracking the S&P 500, and I've got QQQ tracking the NASDAQ. Now, I don't trade based on these charts, but if you're not going to track the markets all day long, it's really nice to come in, take a quick peek at these charts just to try to put some context around where the market's at. Okay, what happened that day? So if I come in here on the S&P, for example, I can take a quick peek. I always look at this volume indicator down here at the bottom, and as you can see, the last 2 days compared to average volume over the past 50 trading days, which is this yellow line, okay, we've seen some very slow price action to start the week. Yesterday was no surprise. Okay, it was Veterans Day, so the banks were closed, so no surprise there. But today was also slow. Okay, and you can see that we did have some pretty small candles up here at the top showing price action. Okay, we're at very lofty levels. We're at all-time highs. You can see that right here on the chart. We're at the upper end of the range. The 20-period moving average has held a couple of times now. So really, we're in a very confirmed uptrend. There's no denying that. But what should have you cautious here at these levels is price action is slowing down. Okay, now this could mean a few different things. This could mean the bulls are just resting, waiting for a leg higher. Or this could mean that the bulls are running out of bullets here at these levels. And we could be due for a pullback, which is much needed at these levels. So basically, when I come in and I look at this chart, I'm going to continue to track this 20-period moving average. That's at 175.68. It has held up very nicely. Okay, if we do get the market to roll over here this week, I will track that closely. If we break it, then we could see a pretty swift move lower down to that 50-period moving average at 171.64. But at this point, we're pretty strong here on the upside. And everything I just walked through really holds true for the other 2 index products as well. If I take a look at the Qs, which represents the NASDAQ, we're just hugging this 20-period moving average. Okay, again, volume continues to be very light. We're really at make it or break it levels here. We're either going to break higher and continue to make new all-time highs, make another run to the upside, or the bulls will most likely throw in the towel and start to lock in some of these gains from the last few months. So it would not surprise me at all with how far the NASDAQ has come. It would not surprise me at all if we get back down to that 80 level, down towards that 50 MA here at some point this week. And then finally over on the Dow, okay, again, pretty extended, pretty slow price action here so far this week. We're just hovering near the upper end of that channel. Okay, it's we don't typically see this long of a stretch where we make new highs day after day after day, but that's been the case on the index products. So if we start to roll over, my first areas of support that I'll be looking at are these moving averages down below us, which is the first area is that 20 MA at 155.44. Okay, so even though you don't track the markets throughout the day, if you just come in and take a quick peek at these 3 charts, it just gives you some context. It just kind of gives you a glimpse into what has happened of late. Where are we at? In the grand scheme of things, are we at all-time highs? Are we near a swing low? It just kind of gives you an update on what's been going on. Okay, at that point, then I can move over to my actual charts that I trade off of. And what you're looking at here, this is the PTU Active Swing Trader. This is the system that I use each and every day in my own trading. The nice part about this system is the trade calculator prints everything on the chart for us. So if I were to zoom in here on TLT, which is an ETF that tracks the bond market, notice here that the setups are identified for me on the chart. Okay, I've got my entry points, which are the plus signs here. I've got the targets, which are the green dots. I've got my stops, which are the red dots. Okay, this is what enables me to get in and out in 20 minutes a day or less. Because when I come in here, if I'm in this short trade, for example, do I need to calculate targets and stops? I do not. Everything's outlined for me. Notice what happened as I passed my first target down here, the first series of green dots. The stop went from the full level. The calculator moved it down to break even for me. Okay, very, very easy to trade. So we're coming off of this winning short trade. Okay, we just closed this one out. So do I see any new setups printing on the chart? I do not. Okay, I don't see any plus signs showing up here. I don't see any targets, any stops, which means I'm in holding mode. Okay, I'm waiting for the next setup to print. So TLT, I can take a quick glimpse here and know that there's nothing for me to do. Okay, I'm not running any calculations here. I'm not looking to force a trade. All I'm doing is waiting for the market to pull back. So at this point, I need price action to pull back into my signal line here, which is this blue line. That would give me the potential for another trade setup. But I can take a quick peek on TLT and know that, okay, for Wednesday's session, for tomorrow, there's nothing for me to do. Okay, so I can move on. Okay, I can move on to Citigroup, symbol C. Okay, so for tomorrow, as I start to form a plan for my day, I take a look at the chart here and I know that I'm in this short setup. This short setup triggered in back on November 1st. And we've been in this short ever since. We've got our targets down here. We've got our stops up here where the red dots are at. As you can see, we are underwater on this trade. We're taking some heat, but we have not hit our stop out yet. So is there a need to panic? Is there a need to try to force a new trade here? No, we're just going to let this current trade play out. So if you wanted to, could you place some price alerts for tomorrow's session? Sure, you could place some price alerts up around that 50-70 level, which is where our stop is at, or you could place an alert down at that first target. So that way you know throughout the day tomorrow, if you're not by your computer, well, you can have those alerts sent to your cell phone, for example. So you know throughout the day that, okay, we're approaching a stop or a target. But other than that, Citigroup, I know where my targets are at, I know where my stops are at, and I move on. All right, over on Google. Okay, I'm actually in this short trade from back here. Okay, I'll get that horizontal line out of the way for a second so you can see this. I did trigger into this short. Okay, and we have a rule built into our system when we are in a short trade, and you can see right here that, okay, I did get a long setup, and it looks like that long setup triggered in. However, we have a rule built into our trade plan that says, okay, if we get a reversal trade to set up in the other direction, we push the entry point out. Okay, we ask for more confirmation on the entry point. The reason we do that is we want to give this short trade every chance to succeed. And this is a perfect example of why we do that. Had I gotten out of my short trade right here where this long looks to trigger in, well, I'm getting out of my short trade with a loss, and you can see that the long trade would not have worked out either. Well, that's exactly why we put that rule in our trade plan. Our adjustment here kept us in this short trade, and notice what happened. Okay, Google continued to roll over. We did hit our first target, which was right here at this first series of green dots. Once I hit first target, my stop goes down to break even. So my stop is currently at this level right here. My target is the second series of green dots. So I can go ahead and box the box price in here. So I know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I know what my worst case scenario is. I have my stop in place at break even. If the market continues to roll over here, my target's down near that 1,000 level. Very, very simple here. I'm already in this short trade. There's no having to worry about placing new trades here first thing tomorrow morning. All I'm doing is currently managing this trade in progress. So Google's done. I move on. Over on GLD, which is an ETF that tracks the gold market. Okay, we just closed out of this short trade here again. The calculator printed everything for us. We had our entry point, we had our targets, we had our stop. Notice what happened when we started to move down into profit. Our stop went from the full level down to break even. As we continued to move down towards that full target, the stop continued to move down as well. Notice what happened to the red dots here. Okay, now fortunately for us, we hit full target, but had price action flipped around before we hit full target, we would have been out with a partial profit. Okay, that's a good position to be in. So at this point, for tomorrow's session, okay, I'm currently flat. There's no setups to place here tomorrow. I don't have to force a trade. What I'm waiting for, I need price action to move back into my signal line. Okay, so we can move on very quickly on GLD. Over on the Dow, we're currently in this long trade. Okay, we got long here. Bring the data window over. We got long at 157.10. We currently have targets up at 158.24 and 159.61, and the stops at 154.82. Okay, so for tomorrow's session, all I do is manage the current trade in progress. Okay, I don't need to sit there and track every tick throughout the day on Wednesday. All I'm doing is tracking where my targets and stops are at on this current trade, which are posted right on the chart by my trade calculator. Okay, very, very powerful. So with that plan done, we move on. And finally, over on Apple. Apple, move that data window here quickly. Apple is currently in this short setup right here. Okay, we triggered short just below the 518 level. Again, that's printed for me right on the chart. I know where my targets are at. They're down at 505.66 and 498.87. My stop's up at 536.51. Okay, we're hanging out right around that entry point. Apple's been very, very quiet here. I know that Apple does not like to stay quiet for very long, so I wouldn't be surprised if this one breaks out in one direction or the other. Okay, now for our sake, hopefully it breaks lower here over the next couple of days. See if we can hit those full targets. But is there anything for me to do tomorrow morning? Well, there's not. I'm just letting this short trade play out. Okay, so as you can see, I went through my overview charts. Okay, I explained in detail all 6 of these individual charts that I trade. Okay, and that just took us a few minutes. So now it's Tuesday evening. Okay, and in 10 minutes, I've already gone through my charts for tomorrow. Okay, I know which stocks are in setups, I know where my targets are at, I know where my stops are at. If you need to place price alerts inside of your broker platform, if you need to place some conditional orders for stops and targets, you can do so. That does not take long at all. And now you're set up. Okay, you're set up for Wednesday session. You don't need to sit there and block out a couple of hours to track the markets. You can stay involved in these markets. Now, when I talk about getting setups here, when I talk about getting longs and shorts on the chart, can you buy or sell the shares of stock? You can. I take it a step further. I like to put on options trades. Okay, I like to put on individual calls and puts or some vertical spreads depending on how experienced you are with options. So it's just a great way to stay involved in the markets, great way to supplement an income, eventually replace an income if that's what you're looking to do. It's been a very powerful way for me to stay involved in the markets. So hopefully you find this beneficial. Hopefully I've piqued your interest. Hopefully you look more into swing trading the stock and options markets here going forward. So I'm going to wrap this video up here, and I'll be back with you guys here soon.